I tell this to all my female patients with whom I'm speaking about hormone replacement therapy. My mother had a full hysterectomy with a miscarriage after me. So she was I think she was in her early 30s.
Wow.
And so from her early 30s, she was put on HRT. And she was that rare person who did get a breast cancer, more than likely from that HRT. And I still recommend HRT. Yeah. HRT now is not the HRT then. Mm-hmm. We understand far more about more biologically identical hormones. This is not from pregnant mares anymore. We are talking about not just estrogen, but also progesterone and a touch of testosterone. We are monitoring our women far closer. We're also talking to them about their psycho-emotional, psychosocial health, stress reduction, stress resilience. HRT today is not the HRT of 20, 30 years ago. So any woman who is entering or in past perimenopause and they are not on HRT, they need to have a very good, clear discussion with a doctor who is not just empathetic and sympathetic, but someone who is truly informed. And that's what we're trying to determine here. Mm-hmm. Making sure that people understand that all we're saying is that it is appropriate, very appropriate, to have the conversation.
Yes.
Because estrogen is neuroprotective.
Yes.
Estrogen is actually also a mast cell stabilizer. When you don't have estrogen, for those people who have a propensity for your mast cells to degranulate so that you have these allergy-like symptoms, the hay fevers and the hives and the gut issues, and all, that could be because of that loss of estrogen, and your mast cells are a little bit more twitchy.
Yes. We see that all the time in clinic,
Oh,
by
you
the
do?
way.
Yeah,
the
people-
unexplained hives and rashes.
Okay.
I used to have that.
And so literally the patient will be sitting in front of us and she'll be in for, let's say, hot flashes and whatever. And at the very end of the conversation, she goes, oh, and do you have anything for like high, like, you know, thinking this, we've ended the conversation about hormones. Let me talk about skin. And it was like, same conversation.
Yeah, same
We're
conversation.
already in it.
Same conversation.
Let's continue this conversation. Tell us more. Or they'll bring up the frozen shoulder.
Yes.
They're like, okay, so I need, my sleep needs to improve, blah, blah. Oh yeah, doc, because my husband's also sports med, right? So they're like, oh doc, do you know about anything about this weird shoulder thing? Also hormones.
Also hormones.
And I think your point about the lack of knowledge around women's health in terms of what's public. Why is it that the Women's Health Initiative study, it just won't die in terms of, the ramifications of, or the mantra, HRT causes breast cancer, right? That's somehow in everyone's mind. And yet the knowledge of these 70 plus documented symptoms of perimenopause that would warrant a conversation about menopause hormone therapy goes by the wayside.
Including our eyesight, by the way.
Yeah, and hearing. We heard.
Whatever do you mean? I could never be in perimenopause at my youthful age.
Well, we heard it from a doctor as well. You're hearing.
Yeah,
I was like, what
you're
the
hearing.
hell? So now,
a revelation.
Now, when my kids are talking to me, I'm like, I can't hear you. You need to look at me. You need to. You need to say it clearly.
Articulate.
Yes. I was actually 36. I had newborn twins, and I started getting hot flashes. And if it wasn't for the hot flashes, I wouldn't have connected that my anxiety, my wrist pain, which I thought it was because I was holding 2 bottles, a lot of stuff going on that I just thought, oh, this is happening because of the babies, my sleep. Obviously, that was the babies, but it was also the perimenopause.
Yeah. Oh, you started perimenopause?
Yeah, straight after the twins were born. I was 36 years old, and I was sitting there, I was watching TV, and I had a hot flash, and I jokingly said to my husband, I think I'm in menopause, because at the time, perimenopause wasn't a term that people used. So I booked a doctor's appointment. I went in to see them. They did some blood work, and they basically told me I had premature ovarian failure. I remember crying, having this big conversation with the doctor and being like, will I get cancer? She sat me down and we spoke about the bioidentical, and I made that decision. I said, okay, let's do it. And I'm so glad I did. And then I've got friends now who, are mid-40s, and they're like, oh, I feel like this. Yeah. Have you been to the doctors? Have you spoken about HRT? And they're like, no, I will. And I'm like, why are you putting it off? Yeah. I think this conversation.
A lot of patients don't realize that there is a window within which you need to start the HRT, or it doesn't confer as much benefit as it could if you wait too long.
Yeah.
Especially for any woman out there who has got 2E diagnosis, which means ADHD, autism, OCD, giftedness, something. So it's two of these exceptional diagnoses, right? So especially twice exceptional women in particular. So when we have giftedness and ADHD, when we fall off the wagon in perimenopause because we lose the neuroprotectiveness, the neuroprotection of estrogen, we fall off spectacularly.
Wow.
And our mortality rate compared to non-2E counterparts is 15 years if we do not get on top of the hormone and then the subsequent neuroimmune dysregulation.